walking through a ghost town. Y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You were lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page, but we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay, Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay, red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. I'm telling you, Mo, I want to go get my bowling on. Getting fired up every morning to go bowling.
And every time I see Pete Weber do I'm the guy. Man, how can you not get fired up?
Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine, whether you are watching live on YouTube, live on Facebook, or live on Roku TV. Thanks to those fine individuals over at Northeast Sports Productions. We are happy to have you here. I am Chris, and of course, that is Mo. Mo, it's a hump day.
It's a hump day, and March Madness is upon us. And Chris, I know you're excited because baseball's back. It's ready.
That is correct.
It's ready.
Baseball is back indeed. As of right now, as we speak, baseball is happening. Baseball is happening overseas right now. Top of the ninth inning, 2 outs. The Dodgers have a 5-2 lead over the San Diego Padres. That's actually just recently changed. Last time I saw it was the 8th inning, and it was a 2-1 game. Let me take a quick little look-see here, Mo. As your Dodgers seem to be doing well, there was not a home run from Shohei Ohtani. That's what I was checking for. He did have an RBI single in the 8th inning, though. So big day if you are a baseball fan, bigger day if you are a Dodgers fan. Your team is winning. Shohei has a couple of hits. It's all coming up roses if you're a Dodger fan. So good for you, Mo. Good for all of you.
It's a wonderful day, everybody out there. It's a good day. Hey, we're starting the season out right. But as I always point out, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So hopefully it plays out the way my uncle and all my family members who are rabid baseball fans are praying for.
Mo, we got a lot going on today. We got Will coming on the show. We got the NFL genius, Gene from Wire to Wire Sports in the house. We got a lot of things happening. But before we get to any of that, I wanted to open this conversation with you. And it's going to go someplace. This is going to upset some people. But I feel like when you have as much data as you do on it, you can look at this situation and maybe not in the Caleb Williams situation, because if you honestly believe Caleb Williams is as can't miss, and I don't believe that. I don't believe he is can't miss. I believe he is a very good prospect, but I do not think that he is the second coming of Tom Brady with a little bit of Peyton Manning, with a little bit of Josh Allen's arm rolled into one. I don't buy that. But I do think he is a very good prospect. But Mo, does there come a point when you can look at a situation and you can say, you know what? I think he is going to be a great quarterback. I just don't think he's going to be a great quarterback in our city. And then choose to draft someone else as a result. And it's no slight on Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is a warm weather quarterback. Chicago is not a warm weather city
at all.
I know Chicago's not going to do this, and I know that any team that would do this would get completely destroyed for it. But if you've listened to the NFL genius in the past, he has made this point, and I'm going to reassert the point, which is if you look at the history, and there is so many quarterbacks you can look at, and they range from below average to above average prospects coming into the league. But if you look at all of these warm weather quarterbacks who ended up going to cold weather places, and maybe the biggest exception to the rule, and this is always the one that people, well, what about Aaron Rodgers?
Right,
Okay.
correct.
Aaron Rodgers is a freak. That's all I gotta say about that. He is not the rule. He is the exception to the rule.
1,000%.
When you look at warm weather quarterbacks going to cold weather places, it usually doesn't go well. When you look at cold weather quarterbacks going to cold weather places, it goes so much better. So if you know that, and if you have literally decades worth of data that proves that, Mo, and I get it. If you're sitting here saying Caleb is the exception to the rule, Caleb is going to be the next best prospect in the last 30. Okay, fine. If you believe that, you're not coming off of him. So I'm not trying to persuade you. But if you don't believe that, and you just think he's a very good prospect, wouldn't you prefer maybe someone who's a step down from Caleb, but you know can play in cold weather, which is what they're going to be playing in your city for the next 4 or 5 years, as opposed to hoping that Caleb is the exception to the rule when we've only seen 2 of them the past 20 or 30 years, maybe 3 of them?
That's a great point.
I'm just saying, if the data, if all the data points that you're looking at are saying this, why do you think you're going to go against them and find success? I don't understand.
He's can't miss, Chris. Right?
I hear that. I hear that.
No, but that's the perception. Look, I'm with you. I don't buy that he's can't miss. I think that he's a high prospect. He's considered the best prospect coming out of this year's draft class, and yet my gut feeling is I don't know if he's going to be the best quarterback out of this draft class. It's easy to say that, and then they actually get drafted and they go through the rigmarole of training camp and preseason, and then they get out there and it counts, and sometimes it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. And for whatever reason. And then there will be a guy that got drafted in the 4th round who thought he's going to be a project, but one day he'll be a starter. And that guy clicks immediately and becomes the guy. It happens. It does. It does. And I've watched a lot of Caleb Williams. I have. I don't know. I know that if I were the Bears, I would have kept Fields. We've already had this conversation before, and I would have reaped so many benefits from that pick. Look, if he turns out to be the next guy for the next 15 or 20 years, that's great. That's great for the league. That's certainly great for the Bears. But you pointed out also in another conversation, the Bears really don't have a great history of drafting quarterbacks, right? And they haven't had a long string of great quarterbacks. They really haven't. They have a lot of big names, but they weren't really great quarterbacks. Maybe the most talented guy they ever had was Jay Cutler. And Cutler was a gifted quarterback, but he was one of those guys that he just couldn't put it together on a consistent basis. So I digress. My point is this. I'm with you. The cold weather thing, the data, everything you're saying, that would give me pause, right? Even if I'm interested in him, Chris, wouldn't that give you pause and go, can he adapt to this? Because I know about that Chicago Hawk. That Hawk is no joke. And that Hawk will test your heart. Not everybody wants to go out there when it's 15 below and fling the football or get hit. That's just a reality. And I think it's a real thing to at least discuss. But my thing is this. I think they've already talked themselves into he's can't miss. They lead with that. Everybody leads with that. So they're absolutely going to draft him, obviously. And we're going to find out whether he's actually can't miss.
And Mo, I understand if you are the Carolina Panthers. You have nothing going for you. You are a dumpster fire of an organization. You just need a face. You need one player to build everything else around. That's actually not Chicago right now. Chicago has 2 good receivers. I know Keenan Allen's getting up there in age a little bit, but I would say he's easily top 10 clutch 3rd down receivers in the league.
He's
I
an
wouldn't say
amazing mover to change.
he's not top 10 overall,
right.
but top 10 third down clutch receivers. I like me some Keenan Allen. DJ Moore is a top tier wide receiver, not top 10, I wouldn't say, but he's top 32.
He
So
definitely can make plays.
you got two good receivers. You got a couple of decent tight ends over there. Cole Kmet, and you got Everett from the Chargers. A couple of decent tight ends. Got a couple of decent tackles on your team, right? You're paying a ton of money on defense from the past couple of seasons. More money than I think you should be paying. But you got a halfway decent defense over there. So it's not like whoever the quarterback is coming into a dumpster fire and expected to make, a 7-course meal out of nothing. They're going to have pieces around them, which again further leads me into this idea of if you're not sure, if you don't think you can do it, why roll the dice? Why not go for something that's a little more? I would rather have the step 2 version of whatever there is that I'm more confident in with the pieces that I have to be successful moving forward than this. And again, maybe we're completely wrong. Maybe they've looked at all the Caleb Williams stuff. They get paid to do this. We don't. And they're like, nope, he is it. He is the next coming. We are confident. We know exactly what it is. Okay, great. But I'm just saying, Mo, if you look at the last 30 years, and I understand, and I deal with it all the time, right? I'm a Dolphin fan. The running narrative since the Dan Marino days with the isotoners was cold weather comes for the Dolphins, they can't play. And I'm sitting here like, it's football. Come on, guys. Dan Marino is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. All these guys went to college in different places. Just because they play in Miami professionally doesn't mean they've never seen cold weather before. But yet, if you look at the data since the mid-'80s, and you're looking at, almost 40 years of data, they don't play well. They don't. The Dolphins don't play well in cold weather. So, and Gene's saying in the chat, Marino went to Pitt. I get that. But if you look at Marino's numbers in cold weather in the NFL, they weren't great. And part of that is, well, who are they playing against? I get that. And I'm totally a proponent of that. But when you look at 40 years of Miami Dolphins football in cold weather, they're not the best numbers. So there's something to it. And that's not everything. It's not the end all be all, but there is something to it. And when you're looking at 30 or 40 years of quarterback prospects coming into the NFL who traditionally don't play in cold weather, and most of them aren't great in cold, there's something. I'm just saying, it's a conversation worth having on a Wednesday morning, Mo.
And it's a fair conversation. Like you said, it's
not the end all.
Those guys get paid to analyze and scrutinize these players. We don't. But I would retort, or at least reply with this, that somebody got paid when they looked at Jameis Winston. Somebody got paid when they looked at Jamarcus Russell. Somebody got paid John Lynch when he thought Trey Lance was worthy of what he was. He was not. John Lynch. I can't get over that. But I'll move on. Those people that get paid for it, just like we get it wrong sometimes, they get it wrong as well. So I'm just not sold, and I think you're there too on the can't miss thing.
Like I said, we got a big show to get to today. We got Will coming on here in a little bit. He's going to talk some NBA stuff with us. We got a lot of different directions that we are going with NBA today. So let's get Will in here.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Will. How are you this morning, sir?
How you guys doing this morning?
Doing well.
Will, I had a screen for you. It was the Will screen. It's much like the JG screen. It's much like the NFL Genius screen. But my dashboard didn't want to load it this morning. So you get to see the Will screen the next time you come. Things to look forward to, sir. Things to look forward to.
I'll see it next week.
How are you? How is life treating you?
How about you guys?
I'm doing good. Doing well, man.
Good.
No complaints over here. Let's start with this. Well, I'm going to ask you a very general question. I'm going to let you kind of spin off of it. You ready for it?
Yep.
KD never signs with the Golden State Warriors. How does that change the NBA?
it takes that position away that because if he doesn't sign, he doesn't win those 2 championships. So it takes away from, to me, any case at all for being that guy, for being a Hall of Famer. It takes that away, in my opinion. Some people may disagree because you got guys who didn't win championships in the Hall of Fame, but if you go back and look at it, would he be a great scorer? Of course. But at that point, that's all he'll be known for, as a great scorer. He would never be considered a Hall of Famer or better than LeBron without those 2 championships, in my opinion.
Mo?
Well, I think he would have been a Hall of Famer anyway. You're talking about a guy that's going to be a 13, 14-time All-Star, multiple All-NBA. So the Hall of Fame is full of guys that have never won anything. He would have made the Hall of Fame. The difference is we wouldn't have called him an all-time great. People wouldn't have said he's a top 15 or top 20 player all time. But I'm looking at it the other way. If KD doesn't go to Golden State, that means there's 2 more titles on LeBron's resume, because they weren't beating them. And that changes Golden State's trajectory. So I'm not looking at KD. I'm looking at Golden State, and I'm looking at LeBron, and suddenly LeBron's got 5 titles.
I just think he goes in. I just think he goes into the Hall of Fame as a great scorer. He's not looked at the same. He's looked at as just a scorer, and we got a lot of those in the Hall of Fame right now.
Right, but I guess what Chris was looking at is if that changes what Golden State is, then what happens to Golden State as a whole? Does that team get broken up sooner, Chris? Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Cleveland comes back whole. They've already beaten them. They didn't get KD. Cleveland's winning the East again. Maybe Golden State gets back out of the West, but Cleveland's going to repeat. They might even three-peat.
Mm-hmm.
Like that literally would have changed everything.
And if you look at it from a chain reaction, Kyrie never goes to Boston. If you look at it from that standpoint, he never goes to Boston. He stays. Because him and LeBron are winning.
I think he would have stayed as long as they're winning. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know if they're teammates forever, because I still think, I might be alone in this, but I still think he's a weirdo. But yeah.
But I do think he stays in Cleveland a little bit longer if they're winning. Now, I do think he stays in
Doesn't that change everything though? LeBron has 3 titles in Cleveland. I don't know if he ever comes to the Lakers. It changes everything. I don't think Steph and the perception of the Warriors completely changes. It would have been, well, they won that 1 title when Cleveland didn't have Kyrie and Kevin Love. And then when Cleveland was whole, they got beat down and they blew a 3-1 lead. And then lost again, and then lost. It would have changed everybody's career arc and the perception of everybody.
And the Lakers never get that bubble championship.
Well, yeah, that's true. That very well may go to the Cavs or another team, but it would have changed everything. How do I know that LeBron wouldn't be sitting on 6 titles right now?
Right.
That's very possible. I'm just putting it out there.
And let's not forget that if you're focusing specifically on the Warriors and the Cavaliers in this situation, who's not to say the Warriors don't find someone else to add to their team to say, we need you to take down LeBron. So if 100%. It wasn't KD, and I'm not saying they find someone the same caliber as KD was for them during that stretch, but is it possible they go out and they find another person to fill those KD shoes of, hey, we need another piece to take down the Cavaliers? No idea who that piece would be or what that would look like, but you would have to imagine that they just wouldn't sign on to, well, let's just keep trying how we are to take down this team.
Yeah.
You would imagine they're going to add something.
I agree. Yeah.
Maybe they pursue a DeMar DeRozan at the time or someone of that ilk. And look, he's not on KD's level, but if you look at what the Warriors do and what he could do, at the time, mind you, now this is DeMar DeRozan 8 or 9 years younger.
Yep.
He's a bucket getter. Maybe that would have been enough. It wouldn't have given them the star power of KD, but maybe it would have gave them the edge over the Cavaliers in a series. Maybe that's a 7-game series again, and they find a way to win. What KD did by going there was he gave them somebody that canceled out LeBron. He was able to play LeBron at least even and at times be better. And that was the difference. He canceled out LeBron. So when LeBron's canceled out, all things being even, Golden State had the advantage then because still it's Steph and Clay and Draymond versus Kyrie and Kevin Love, and along with Iggy and the rest of those guys. So they had an advantage. It's a great question, Chris, because you think about everybody's career arc. KD doesn't go; he stays in Oklahoma City. It's a weird thing. He doesn't win any titles, but is he more revered for staying in Oklahoma City? Let's say he's still there right now and being a great player, but coming up short. But he gets revered for being loyal and staying with Oklahoma City. This would be what, year 16, versus he is a two-time Finals MVP, but he's since been on 3 different teams, and he's looked at a different way right now. Like if things don't work out in Phoenix, is he going to move again?
And it's interesting, guys, because you can play these what-if games with so many different scenarios. But I love the KD one because it impacts so many other players. Sure. There's so many what-if scenarios you can play where it affects one person, one team. And by default, you can be like, well, they would probably win a title if that person wasn't on that team. But just the KD situation, it's teams, it's players, it's legacies, it's so much into one conversation because of the KD ripple effect. So I love the KD conversation. Let's pivot a little bit. We're going to go rapid fire this morning. I'm going to give you guys some names, and all you are going to do is tell me, will they sign an extension with their current team before NBA free agency at the end of this season? Okay? So extension with their current team before they hit free agency. Let's open up with LeBron James. Will?
No.
Yes.
I don't think so.
You think he's going to test free agency?
I think he'll test it. I think he'll test it.
I'm going to say yes because I think the Lakers will make enough of a run that he'll think that he can come back and take them to another level. So I say he comes back.
All right, Mo,
I say no because of the situation he's in right now. He doesn't like the coaching situation with Darvin Ham. We've seen that on more than several occasions. He doesn't like the team that he's around now outside of AD, and maybe Austin. So yeah, I say no.
Mo, Pascal Siakam.
Yes, he resigns. I think he looks around, looks at the team that he's on. The Pacers are on the upswing. They've got a great young star. Why would he not resign? Their young star, what he loves more than anything is to pass the ball to people. And Siakam's a scorer. So why would you leave?
I agree. I think he stays. He sees the upside of that young team. I think he stays.
Well, how about Tobias Harris?
I think he stays. But I think he stays, but I think he reconstructs that contract a little bit. Because right now, to me, he's making a little too much money for what he provides you. So I think he stays, but I think he restructures that contract.
Yeah, I don't think Philly wants him to stay. So no, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say he finds a new home. I think he's uninvited.
I'm just trying to figure out. Maybe it's just me. I'm just trying to figure out from what he gives you and for how much he wants to get paid. Who's gonna pay him that salary to come in and what? Most teams it's a 6-man anyway. So
he makes $180 million now.
Yeah.
Philly overpaid him because they lost Jimmy Butler. So they had to overpay him. So look, no disrespect. I'm pro player. Get what you can. But if I'm a GM, there's no way I'm getting in a bidding war to pay Tobias Harris $180 million.
Exactly. So he's gonna have to. So no matter what he does, he's gonna have to restructure whether he stays or leaves because the production he gives you doesn't match the check.
Correct.
Mo, how about Buddy Hield?
Oh,
I'll say this: if Embiid comes back, then he resigns. He'll only has value if Embiid's on the floor, but because you're seeing what he is right now without Embiid. Buddy gives you nothing. He gives you nothing. Look, I'm not sure the Sixers want him back. I've always thought Buddy Hield was overrated, so I would say that there's a good chance he tests free agency.
I think he stays. Because again, I agree with Mo. He's connected to Embiid, and I think that's going to be the best situation for him if Embiid is healthy.
Well, how about Gary Trent Jr.?
I actually like Gary. He has a place, so I think he stays.
If I'm him, I'm getting out of Toronto. So I think
He
he
has a
bounces.
place in Toronto, though.
I think he bounces. I think he wants to go somewhere and be on a team that can compete for a championship. Toronto is not that place.
That's fair.
I just
That's
think
fair.
I think he has a place with that team. I think he stays.
Mo, Klay Thompson.
Ooh.
That is a really tough one, but I think because Clay has put it out there in the public that he's willing to take less to stay, he's going to stay.
He's not going to leave that. He's not going to leave that environment. He's not going to leave that locker room. He's embraced there. They love him there. He ain't leaving. He stays.
Will Drew Holiday.
I think he stays.
I think Drew stays as well. He'll probably sign a fair deal. It'll be a short deal, maybe a 2-year deal with a team option. Drew's definitely going to be back. I think he still can give the Celtics high-level play for another 2 or 3 years.
And that's a good role for him, too.
Mo, Paul George.
I'm going to say he goes.
What's up,
I know that everybody said that he's going to come back because they got the new arena, but I'm going to say it's contingent upon how the Clippers season ends.
Fair.
I agree. If they go deep, I think he stays. But if they don't, he'll look for greener pastures.
And I got this one just for you, my guy, DeMar DeRozan.
Man, don't do me like that. Don't do me like that. You know what? And Bull fans are gonna crush me for this, but the Bulls ain't winning nothing anytime soon. Nothing anytime soon. No point guard play. Really no bench depth when you look at it at the end of the day. I think DeMar wants to win. Yeah, I think he goes.
I think he goes as well. DeMar is aging like a fine wine. We're talking about KD and LeBron and everybody. He's aging great. Yep. Imagine him not as a starter, but being your sixth man, your instant offense coming off the bench on a contender. He's a monster. So I definitely think he looks for greener pastures.
I think so too, and I think you can integrate him on a lot of teams. You really can. So I think he goes.
Well, before we get you out of here this morning, there was a morning show mailbag question for you, sir. For you. This comes from Dan. Dan wanted to ask Will whether or not he thinks that if Kevin Ollie is the guy in Brooklyn.
That's a good question.
That is a good question. My only issue is that front office. They don't give, and they gave. I don't think they did right by previous coaches. I don't know. I would want to say yeah, but they're gonna have to make some changes. Definitely to make that work. But I want to say yes, provided he gets a fair opportunity.
I think Kevin Ollie is a good coach, but I think if you look at that roster construction, if you look at that team,
it's terrible.
They've set him up for failure.
They're gonna have to do some.
He doesn't have a play. He doesn't have a player you can build around. He has some really, really good players like Bridges and Johnson.
Yep.
But they're not franchise players. They're
just guys.
Bridges might be an all-star but he's not a franchise player. Everybody else, they're just a bunch of guys.
Yeah, there's a bunch of guys. That's all. And I hate
not
to see
set up to win.
And I hate to see Ollie go out like that because we see a lot of good coaches get canned because of the fact that talent that they inherit just are terrible. But yeah, I think he can be, but they're gonna have to get some more basketball people in that front office, draft better, do better in free agency, overhaul that whole team. Because right now, like you said, Mo, they're just a bunch of guys for the most part.
We'll appreciate having you on every week, sir.
Appreciate you, Will.
Thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate you having me on.
Always a pleasure having Will on here with us, Mo. I can't believe the Will button didn't work this morning. I gotta yell at the guys backstage, tell them to get on that. You know, Will deserves a button just like everyone else. We got the NFL genius himself, Gene, coming on here in a few moments. But before we get to that, Mo, we've talked a handful of times, and this has actually been on my topic list since Monday, and we just haven't had time to get to it. So we're going to crack open this conversation now, and then we're going to invite Gene into the conversation because I'm sure he has an opinion. we've heard so much about the state of college football and the state of college sports in general. A lot of this has to do with the comments that was made by Nick Saban as he exited the sport, and we all know what side of the aisle he is on. A lot of this has to do with the recent conversation by RG3 talking about player power and how players, specifically the ilk of Caleb Williams, when they come out of college, they should have the ability to pick and choose where they go and kind of dictate whether or not a team should take them if they don't want to play there. Things are very much becoming pro athletes, which is something we wanted for a long time. For a long time, we felt that it was unfair that these student athletes were being taken advantage of and that schools were making all of this money off of these athletes. And they, as celebrities and as people who were giving their bodies to their sports in college, some of them, you know, because of the injuries and the wear and tear on their bodies that they suffered in school, it would then impact their professional career. So it's not like they weren't sacrificing or they weren't putting it in or they weren't giving something and they were getting nothing, literally nothing in return. Right. I mean, we had stories where, you know, guys got a pair of shoes and they were getting in trouble because they accepted a pair of sneakers and that went against the rules. So they were getting, you know, thrown to the wolves for accepting a free pair of shoes. But we've come a long way since then. And now you hear that some of the bigger college athletes are making a lot more money in college than they're going to make their first couple of years in the pros from a contract stance, not from endorsements and all that other stuff. But then you hear the coaches side of it. And you hear coaches, and I know there's two sides to this, but you hear the coach side of it and they say, listen, it's very hard as a coach to build a program when there is no stability. When you have the transfer portal and every year guys just come and go as they want. And I know the immediate argument is, well, coaches can come and go. I know. I understand that. There is no perfect argument to this. But my question, Mo, and we're going to bring Gene in here in a second, is in a world where there is no stability now, there's no stability on the coach side of it. There's no stability on the player side of it. But yet everyone wants the same thing in 1 year, which is a championship. How do you live and survive in that world when promises are 8 months long, right? When every promise you make has an 8 or 9 month expiration date on it, how do you thrive in a world and build something that's going to last and have longevity when the entire world is set to crumble and reset every 9 or 10 months? And I don't have an answer to that. I don't have an answer this morning as I sit here and talk to you, Mo, because I don't know what that answer looks like. And I understand the players who say, well, we commit to a school and we turn down 4 or 5 other schools because we want to work, we want to be with this coach. And 1 year in or 2 years in, he goes and he gets a better job and he abandons us. I totally get that. And now you have coaches saying, I recruit, I go to these houses, I sit in your living room. You know, I put in all this effort to bring in this group of kids, and then we have this season, and half of you leave. And now everything that I built for the next 2 or 3 years that I thought we were going to have, I have to rebuild as a coach. That's not, I understand every side. What I don't understand, Mo, is there a solution?
Look, I think I'm where you're at on this. I don't know what the solution is because we are in the era where these athletes, there was a time, Chris, when a coach showed up to your living room with you and your parents from LSU or Alabama, that just because he showed up, you were in awe. He's recruiting me. I'm good enough for them. You looked at them with reverence. You were in awe. And when he said, yes, the University of Alabama is thinking about bringing you, thinking about it. And you were, you know what I mean? But that meant everything to you. Well, fast forward to where we are now, that same coach walks in there and go, we're thinking of you. The kid responds, well, I'm thinking of you too. I am. But I'm thinking of a few other things. I'm thinking about NIL because I heard this other school, they're going to give me $12 million. I can get 12 million. And that's where they are now. Now the coaches, they got a tap dance. It's not enough to go, you can come to this prestigious university, and if you play for us, you're going to be a first round pick. And the guy's going to be, I'm going to be a first round pick wherever I play, buddy. I'm going to be, it's about me. It's about me era. And I know we're pro player, pro athlete. I'm not sure where the middle ground meets. I don't care what he says. Nick Saban literally got out because he didn't want to be one of those coaches that had the tap dance in the living room. It wasn't enough that he was Nick Saban and he had won multiple national championships and he represents the University of Alabama. Nowadays, kids are like, that's cool, but I just talked to the guy from LSU and this is what he said he can do for my brand. It's a different time. And I honestly, I don't know if there's a middle ground. I will say this. At some point, Chris, the whole pro player thing or pro athlete thing, it will get completely out of control. And I don't know how you rein that back in.
With that, let's press the button. I know this button works, and bring the NFL genius himself onto the stage. Gene, how are you this morning, sir?
Morning, Gene.
I'm great, and it better work. I'm just kidding. So I'm just listening to you guys backstage, and I'm seeing Cottrell's comments in the chat about, like, look at Ohio State, and look at Georgia, and look at all these huge, but that's not the majority of college football.
Right.
And, that's not Cincinnati, right? That's not Northwestern. That's not Minnesota or Auburn. That's not Cal. And I don't think it's a surprise to you guys. You talk about Nick Saban. You heard the story with Nick and Terry Saban, how they used to host the kids at their house, and Terry Saban would talk to the kids' moms and, like, this is what we're going to provide for your child, the safety, and we're going to make sure he's a great young man. And she turns to him and she goes, why are we even doing this anymore? It's not even worth our time. They just don't care. It's about how much we can pay them. And if you think it's a shock that three of the most generational college coaches, Coach K, another one, Nick Saban, and look, maybe I'm a little selfish, Jay Wright, these guys all retired really around NIL. And all the reports about other things, like Coach K's getting old, Nick Saban's getting up there, they all had coaching left in them. Jay Wright retired, he's on TV. Mm-hmm. They want nothing to do with NIL. And it's a really crappy situation because you can go back to the old way where kids are getting fined for signing a pair of sneakers. And that's a terrible way. It's just not they open the floodgates, and the floodgates are just being abused.
And I get it, guys. Like, college football is always going to be the have and the have-nots. And the big programs are always going to be the haves. If you look back at the landscape of college football for the last 30 or 40 years, Oregon is one exception of a team that wasn't there 40 years ago, but kind of is there relevant today. But for the most part, it's the same teams. It's the same teams that were competing for national titles 30 years ago that are competing for national titles today. And that most likely isn't going to change 30 years from now. You might get one more in the mix that pops up and finds stable footing and stays there, but it's going to be the same teams. But Gene, like you said, it's all the other programs. They have coaches. They're trying to get players in. They need to have consistency for 2 or 3 years to then make a run and potentially do something for one season before they have to tear it all down again and start the entire process over. They can't do that anymore.
Well, let's not put that all on the players either, because the coaches do the same thing.
Oh, 100%.
You look at a guy like Brian Kelly, right? Brian Kelly is an absolute disgrace to what college football is and college sports. Brian Kelly went to Cincinnati. His team was competing. He left them before their bowl game, went to Notre Dame. His team was competing. He left them while they had an opportunity to still make the college football playoff and went to LSU. The loyalty is not just a player thing. It's a coach thing. It's just an overall business thing. And look, if you think, and it's the same thing I tell guys that watch the NFL, if you think these NFL owners are good human beings, I got another thing coming for you. If you think a lot of these top name college coaches are good people, they're not. They're terrible people. They'll do anything from watch Blue Chips. I want you to watch Blue Chips, and you go watch that movie. It's one of the greatest movies with Nick Nolte, and it will show you the dirty stuff that goes behind the scenes in college sports. And that's always been going on. Cottrell's right. But when it goes on this level where you can pay players to just opt out, there's no contract, 8 months, no change in the program. I want to go here, give me 10 million. Nah, I'm going to go over here, give me 11 million. It's wild. It's wild.
Gene, let's stick with college football here for a hot second. JJ McCarthy's name is rising up the draft boards. It's all I've heard about the past 3 days. He's tied to a couple of different teams. Gene, are we about to see a world where JJ McCarthy leaps some of the names that we thought were guaranteed to go right behind Caleb Williams? And are we going to see a surprise and he goes in the top 10 in the draft? Where do you have JJ ranked amongst the other quarterbacks coming out this season?
I love that you asked where I have him ranked, because I don't like. So I want you to watch Real versus Real. Cottrell does a great job of breaking down JJ McCarthy. I don't see it, right? He does. He sees the poise, and they see the, you know what he like comparable is Brock Purdy, poise, toughness. But like, I think he's definitely going to go top 10, but I have him ranked 6th. I have him behind Michael Penix Jr. I have him behind Bo Nix, but I think he's going to go 5th overall. And I think it's going to be the Minnesota Vikings who trade up to get him. But I don't see it. And I've watched it over and over and over again, and I just don't like him. I don't think he's that good. And I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I just don't think he's that good. I think there's a big jump off between Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and the rest of the pack. Notice I didn't mention Drake May there. I don't think Drake May is on the caliber of what Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels are. I think then the next jump is to Drake May. And I think Drake May is the better arm version of Bo Nix. And then you got JJ McCarthy and Michael Penix, who are just these tough, wiry, mobile quarterbacks that can bring something to your franchise. I don't see it in an NFL level. And once again, I could be wrong. But I think that JJ McCarthy goes to Minnesota, and I think he goes top 10. I think Minnesota trades up to get him.
Mo, you feeling JJ McCarthy as his stock appears to rise?
Yeah, I've been watching him over the course of the season, but it's funny when I watched Cottrell's breakdown, even of his bad habits, he actually sold me more because of his good habits and some of the intangibles. He's not the athlete that some of the other guys are, but he does have wheels. He does have some moxie about him, and he can make a lot of the throws that I think are necessary to go to the next level. So I'm with Cottrell 100%. I think he's a top 10 pick. And it might, I think the Vikings would be the perfect landing spot. Maybe the Broncos try to do something because they don't have a quarterback.
See, the thing is, he reminds me of a thinner, more wiry Baker Mayfield. Like, I don't think he has the strong arm strength. I think he likes to loft a lot of balls. I don't think that he has got next level anything. I think the only thing that's next level about him is poise, like in pocket prep. Like, I think that he's a good scrambler, a tough kid. He's a winner. I think that all that stuff was said about Baker coming out of Oklahoma.
Gene, going into last season, I think, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but if I recall correctly, you were pretty high on the New York Jets. Is that fair?
I'm super high on him still. Yes.
Yeah. Now we're going to circle back to where we are today. So the final formation of the New York Jets is starting to take shape. They got themselves a tackle. They're addressing the offensive line through free agency. They picked up a couple more pieces on the O-line, but the tackle from Dallas appears to be the big move heading into the draft. They got themselves Mike Williams. So they're putting another quality receiver on the other side of Garrett Wilson. So as you look at the moves the Jets are making through free agency, and obviously this is the conversation of if everyone stays healthy, because we know that the tackle they just signed hasn't played a full season since 2015. But as long as he plays, 13 or 14 games, unlike the 5 or 6 he's had a couple seasons ago and 2 seasons prior to that, it will be worth it. But if everyone stays healthy and everything goes according to plan, do you like the moves the New York Jets are making? And where do you see them stacking up top 3, top 5, top 10 in the AFC?
Oh, you guys are gonna hate my answer here. So watch the first 8 games of the Jets season last year. They had comparable quarterback play. They were the best team in football. I don't care what anyone says. That defense was insanity. If you have comparable quarterback play, just average quarterback play. Now the wheels fell off as the season went on, and Zach Wilson got benched in A, B, and C. Let's talk about them. Let's talk about the left tackle signing they just had, right? This sounds eerily familiar. Hall of Fame left tackle, plays for one NFC East team for almost his entire career, starts breaking down injury-wise, should retire, wants to continue playing, and signs with another team in the offseason. Oh, that's Jason Peters. Oh, same guy. Got it. I think that's a terrible signing for the Jets. Tyron Smith is one of the best left tackles you'll ever watch. Here's the problem. He's not himself anymore. He's broken down and disheveled. The Jets need to address that blind side, because if he is out of the football game, you don't have a left tackle to back up for Aaron Rodgers, that ruins everything. Now you ask the question, with health, if you can guarantee me health, Jets versus Lions Super Bowl.
All right.
If you guarantee me health.
Yep. That's the key. That's the key.
But see, that's the problem, right? Like, that's why I'm so hesitant of picking the Jets where I picked them last year. I think the Jets have the best foundation in football. They have a great defense, a great defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh. They have a quarterback that does not need an offensive coordinator. Oh, wait, that was Peyton Manning in Denver. Got it. This is what I'm looking at. But the problem is Aaron Rodgers is 40. And if you can't protect him, it doesn't matter. I think they can win the Super Bowl, though. If you can guarantee health, that's a problem, though. I don't know if you can guarantee health.
If they make the playoffs, they win a playoff game, and that's it. Does Aaron come back?
No. I don't. I think that this team, first of all, I think the Jets need to make a decision on whether they're going to make the AFC Championship game or go to the Super Bowl or move on from Aaron Rodgers. Like, it just, they need to be able to, this isn't working. We need to build from what we're doing. I think the Jets are all in. It's all or nothing this year. And if you don't, and I also think in the second or third round, you'll see them draft a quarterback, or you'll see them trade for a kid like Trey Lance or someone, the future of where they're going to be as far as quarterback position. I'm shocked they didn't get involved in the Justin Fields, Kenny Pickett situation. They could have had, in my opinion, a guy.
And who knows? Maybe, I don't think Fields is going anywhere, but I don't know what Pickett's future is in Philly. Let's touch on that real quick. Obviously, he's never supplanting Jalen Hurts as the starting quarterback in Philadelphia. Right. Is that just a future trade piece there, Gene?
100%. That's exactly what Howie's trying to do. Howie will trade him in August. There's no thought process. If somebody's quarterback goes down, Howie will trade him in August. Like, oh, I got Kenny Pickett, 3rd round pick. Anyone?
You're welcome.
He is a snake oil salesperson. And like, I know it. If I was an NFL GM and Howie Roseman called me up, I'd be like, hello? No. Like, I don't want to talk to you.
Gene, before we get you out of here, we want to get your opinion on some TV topics. There is a new Netflix series coming out. It is called Receiver. If that sounds familiar, it should be. They did it with the quarterbacks. And they're still doing it with the quarterbacks. And now they are going to be doing it with the receivers. This show is going to debut summer of 2024. It features Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Gene, as someone, and you have said this before in many different platforms, you are obsessed with the game. You're a little twisted when it comes to how much film and whatnot that you watch. Are you excited seeing what they did with quarterbacks? Are you excited to see it from the wide receiver, the pass catching position?
100%. I think they really missed the boat. Them picking all superstar wide receivers was the mistake. I think that as a whole, I'm really interested to see the Deebo Samuel one, because I want to learn more about this guy's personality, because I already hate him. So like, maybe if I find more, but no, the funny thing is this: when you watch the quarterback series, What did you? Everybody came away from that quarterback series with very similar opinions, right? Patrick Mahomes is kind of a dick.
Yep.
Kirk Cousins is a great guy, good
Super
leader,
good human being.
yeah, and Marcus Mariota is kind of quitter. And like that's how everyone left that quarterback series. But it was elite, good fringe, and that was fun. Why? We made a joke yesterday in our chat. But what do you think about if they took like Jalen Reagor and like had it like following him, a guy that wants to make a team, a former first-round draft pick? Like I want to make one for Philadelphia, like Quez Watkins, Jalen Reagor, Nelson Aguilar, and we'll call it like delusional. But no, I'm super excited to watch it. Amon-Ra St. Brown seems like a really interesting guy to learn more about. Obviously, Jettas. Like, there's a lot of really fun names on that list, and I'll watch every episode when it comes out. But I think they really missed the boat. I think they should have had a mid-tier wide receiver and a fringe wide receiver, and how that looks in the NFL. That was what was so appealing to me about the NFL quarterbacks one, was because they had how an elite quarterback is. And a lot of people, told Tom Brady was a kind of a jerk. And like, maybe that's what elite quarterbacks need to be. Peyton Manning gets labeled a jerk out of locker rooms by a lot of people. But I want to see the personality difference between your elite level quarterback, your mid-tier level quarterback, and your fringe level quarterback, just like I'd want to see that on the receiver level.
And you're right. It would be cool to see a guy who's, trying to make a team, who has to play special teams, who has to do a lot of different things that someone like a Justin Jefferson doesn't have to worry about. Just go out there and be a number one target. And there's a lot of guys in the league that don't have that luxury. So it would be an interesting dynamic to see that kind of unfold with an insider point of view. Gene, before you get out of here, what do you have going on tonight? Wire to wire.
Oh my God. We're going to go 2.5 hours again. We have too much stuff right now. Like it's a wild statement. So we're going to run through it really quick. Obviously, got to talk about NFL. We have our edge rushers list or our defensive lineman list for draft prospects. We're going to do our entire NCAA bracket, which, by the way, I didn't see you two signed up for the bracket yet. Get up on the bracket. We're going to start.
Sure I signed up.
Oh, you better sign up. I need both of you guys on this damn bracket because I want to be able to compare everyone on the network. We're going to have we're going to give our whole bracket, though. So if you're having issues filling out your bracket and you want to get College Cottrell or Scholastic Shalley's intake on how to pick the bracket, we're going to have a whole bracket breakdown. We're also going to be doing the Midwest of sports characters, which is a ton of fun. Play-in game, real quick, just for you two. Jake Taylor from Major League or Sonny Weaver Jr. from Draft Day.
Oh.
Ooh,
I like Sonny.
Ooh. Jake Taylor, but Jake Taylor's that grizzled veteran, man.
Top Pratt, that's who he is. He's top Pratt.
I mean, come on,
I love Draft Day though. It's such a great movie.
You know what? That's actually one of my favorite Costner movies. But I'll go with Sonny. Man, it's hard to get rid of Jake though. Man,
it's a play-in game. It's the Midwest is loaded, obviously, with baseball movies and things like that.
That's crazy that was a play-in,
right? It's gonna be a lot of fun tonight, though. We're gonna go way past time, though.
All right, Jim. Well, we appreciate it. We'll be in the chat tonight, sir. Thanks for coming on this morning.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Appreciate you,
Mo. Jake Taylor, huh?
Come on, man.
No, I respect it. I respect it.
That grizzled veteran, man, talking to them two youngsters. Come on.
Yeah, I respect it. It.
Remember, he's going after his old girlfriend. There's all that side stuff. I mean, come on.
Before we get out of here this morning, speaking of, well, I don't know if they're grizzled veterans, but these two are definitely veterans. I'm talking about Team Bestie. WWE Hall of Famer Trish Stratus and WWE Hall of Famer Lita. They were both recently interviewed, and of course, whenever they're spoken to, they talk about their wrestling careers. And one question they always get, Mo, is one more match. You got one more match in you? Like, anyone who's not currently here that can still go. Same question. One more match. And they were pretty transparent. They said, at this point in our careers, we've accomplished, everything we can really accomplish in this business. We'll always listen to a good story if it's presented, but then they offered the idea of, we would really love to be women's tag team champions. And that's kind of what we could see our next chapter as, is Team Bestie winning the women's tag team titles. And then, Mo, you look at the women's tag team division, which is absolute garbage right now, and maybe putting the belts on Trish and Lita could inject some life into a division that is pretty much dead in the water.
It is. It really is. And it's not, the sad thing is, it's not before lack of talent. They've
Right.
got tons of talent, but they haven't put together any teams that make fans get hyper excited.
And it's almost the same argument you have about the WWE tag team division through the years, is you have these little runs where you have these great tag teams and this good tag team action, and then you have these long droughts where you just have nothing happening in the tag division. And they start throwing together singles guys and giving them the belts, and they're just throwing all these teams, like there's just nothing going on. And you could even make an argument that that's the current tag team division up until a few weeks ago, when they decided that, they were going to do this big tournament thing and they're going to have this big match at Wrestle. Like, until then, the Judgment Day wins the belts. They defend them a couple times here and there in good matches, but you can't sit here and say there's a thriving competitive tag team division.
No,
because there really isn't. There's a lot of tag teams running around, but when you put the belts on someone like Judgment Day, you start to say, oh, they're an A or a B. Then we got a bunch of C or D talents. Those teams aren't going to beat them.
right.
And that's kind of the situation you run into.
That's exactly what it looks like. And I don't see anybody beating them anytime soon.
Right, because there just isn't really a team on their level besides maybe the New Day. But, they seem kind of past their prime for making tag team runs.
I was getting ready to say the same thing. Great. I mean, great team, but on the other side of their prime, right?
Right. All right, close us out here on a Wednesday, sir.
Thank you guys for everybody in the chat showing the support. We appreciate you so much. Make sure you guys check out all the content that we have at Wire to Wire Network. You've already listened to Chris and me. Give us a like, a sub, a follow. Any kind of support is much appreciated. Wire to Wire Network.
Hey, make sure that you are in the chat with us tonight as we watch Wire to Wire Sports. Gene said it. It's going to be a 2+ hour show. If you can't make it for all of it, make sure you are there for part of it. Special thanks to Gene and Will for coming on this morning. Make sure you are back with us tomorrow. Same time, same place. JG will be here to break down the start of the Major League Baseball season. He will probably also revel in more of my Yankee sadness. All of that and more. Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show